Part 1. I wasn't supposed to feel this way. They say some mistakes change you forever. But what if the thing that broke you also woke you up? My name is Noah Carter. I'm 22, and I live in the kind of house where everything looks perfect from the outside. White siding, a clean-cut lawn, and a father who wears a smile like a necktie, tight professional and never real. My dad, Richard Carter, is a real estate mogul. Big firm, big house, big expectations, and an even bigger obsession with status. Everything had to look good. Everything had to be earned. Everything had to make sense. Until he showed up. His name was Julian Blackwood, my dad's new business partner. Charismatic, clean-cut, maybe 10, 12 years older than me, and the most dangerous kind of man, the kind who sees straight through you. The first time I met him was at our dining table. Dad had hosted one of his casual dinners for the firm's top execs, which, of course, meant starched napkins, expensive wine, and a level of fake small talk that made my skin itch. I wasn't even supposed to be home, but my plans got canceled, and there I was, in sweatpants, coming down the stairs, yawning, and locking eyes with Julian. He smiled, and I forgot how to blink, not because he was good-looking, but because he looked at me like he already knew something I didn't, like he was reading a page I hadn't written yet. Dad stood up from the head of the table. Noah, this is Julian Blackwood. He's joining the firm. Harvard guy, brilliant negotiator. Julian reached out his hand. Pleasure to meet you, Noah. I hesitated. Took it. His grip was warm, steady, but what shook me was how long he held it. Just half a second too long. And how his eyes didn't move away once. You're Richard's son, he said, voice smooth. Yeah. I replied, awkwardly pulling my hand back. You studying? I nodded. Senior year. Economics. He smiled again, and something in me burned. After dinner, Dad pulled me aside. Don't hover. This is a big deal for the company. Julian's the kind of man who makes deals happen. I nodded, but I wasn't thinking about business. I was thinking about that half second, that pause, that pull. It didn't end there. Julian started showing up more. Meetings at our house. Late night calls in the kitchen. Weekends where he and Dad drank bourbon and talked numbers I didn't understand. But every time he was near, I felt again. That flicker, that warning, that want. One Saturday, I came home from the gym. Shirt clinging to my back. Hair damp. Breath still heavy. And Julian was in the kitchen, alone, tying his tie in the reflection of the microwave door. He looked over his shoulder and smiled. Rough workout. I smirked, trying to keep up with life. He chuckled. You don't have to. It'll always outrun you. I grabbed a bottle of water and leaned against the counter. Why are you always here? He turned tie now perfect. I get things done. That's not an answer. He paused. Maybe I like the view. He didn't look out the window when he said it. He looked at me, dead center, and my heart, it freaking stopped. The next few weeks blurred. He kept showing up, and I kept pretending I didn't care. But my body said otherwise. The way I'd straighten my shirt when I saw his car pull up, the way my stomach flipped when he nodded at me across a crowded room, the way I started checking the hallway before I showered, just in case he passed by. I hated how much I noticed him. I hated that he noticed me back. And then it happened, the thing that started it all, the thing I can't ever take back, the thing that made me realize this wasn't just attraction, this was collision. It was late. Dad was out of town for a conference. I was watching reruns in the living room when I heard a knock at the door. Opened it. Julian, in a dark coat, holding a folder. Forgot some papers. Didn't think anyone was home. I blinked. Dad's gone. You can come in. He stepped inside. The house was quiet. Too quiet. He looked around. Funny, I've been here more than I've been home lately. I laughed lightly. Your wife okay with that? He didn't flinch. I'm not married. Pause. A long one. You thought I was? You wear a ring. He smiled. Keeps distractions away. Mostly. I don't know who moved first or why, but suddenly we weren't talking. We were standing, close, too close. His eyes flicked down, then back up. I swallowed hard. Julian, say something else and I'll stop. I didn't, and he didn't. He leaned in, and everything broke. It wasn't soft. It wasn't sweet. It was need. It was wrong, but it felt like fire in my veins. His hands on my face, my hands in his coat, breathless, reckless, completely out of control. We stopped, barely, chest heaving. He stepped back, eyes wild. I shouldn't have. Then why did you? He stared at me. Because I haven't stopped thinking about you since that first night. Silence. Then, don't tell your father. And he left, just like that. No goodbye, no plan, just gone. And I stood there, heart pounding, mouth burning, world tilting. And all I could think was, what the hell did I just do? That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, tracing every second, replaying every breath. And I realized this wasn't a crush. This wasn't curiosity. This was obsession. And it had a name, Julian Blackwood. But here's the thing. I thought it would end there. I thought I'd never see him again. I thought guilt would drown the memory. I was wrong, because that kiss was just the beginning of everything, and of the fallout I couldn't escape. Because the next morning, my dad walked in, briefcase in hand, and said, "Julian's coming over for dinner again tonight." Big announcement. And just like that, the fuse was lit, and I was standing too close to the fire. If you were in my shoes, would you have stopped him or fallen harder? Comment below and tell me. What would you do if you fell for someone forbidden? Like, subscribe, and share for part 2, because this story is just getting started. Part 2, the closer he got, the harder it was to hide. Julian walked in like nothing had happened, like he hadn't kissed me in the dark just 2 nights before, like my heart hadn't exploded in my chest the second his lips touched mine, like everything between us didn't feel like it was still burning. He shook my dad's hand, smiled at my mom, and looked right past me, not through me, past me, as if I was just another lamp in the room. And for a second, I thought I made it all up. Maybe I dreamed the kiss. Maybe I'd imagined the heat. Maybe I needed help. But then he glanced at me, one flick of his eyes, and I knew it was real. It happened, and he was pretending it didn't. Dinner was brutal. My dad was buzzing, his voice booming, hands gesturing like a proud politician. Julian's going to co-lead our new division in Austin. It's a massive opportunity. We might all be relocating. Relocating. My mom blinked. I choked on my water. Austin, I asked, coughing. Julian finally spoke. His voice was calm, practiced, just for a few months. Maybe longer if it grows. Are you going too? I asked, trying not to look like I was asking for my life. That's the plan, he said, barely glancing up. No hesitation, no guilt. And just like that, I became invisible. After dinner, Julian stayed back to talk shop with my dad in the office. I stood in the hallway, pretending to scroll my phone, listening, waiting, hoping. For what, though? For him to care? For him to say, "I can't do this. I kiss your son and I feel something"? He didn't. All I heard was, "We'll finalize contracts Monday. I'll talk to my realtor tomorrow." He was leaving and taking the air with him. I should have been relieved. I should have been safe. Instead, I felt like something was being ripped out of me, and I hated how much I wanted to follow him. Later that night, I sat on the back steps, hoodie pulled tight, staring into the dark. The door creaked. I didn't look. "You okay?" Julian's voice asked. I almost didn't answer, but I couldn't help it. "Do you always act like nothing matters after you get what you want?" He sighed. "That's not fair." "No, what's not fair is making me feel like I hallucinated that night." "You didn't? Then what was it, Julian? A mistake? A game? Something to check off your list before you move to Austin?" He stepped closer. I stood up, face to face, close enough to feel his breath, but far enough that it could still be called mistake. "You think I'm walking away because I don't care?" he asked, his voice low. "I don't know what to think. You kissed me. Then you ghosted me. Then you show up to dinner like nothing happened." He looked away. "I kissed you because I couldn't stop myself." "Then why stop now?" He didn't answer. He just left again, back into the dark. Like he never meant to be there. Like I was the one making this harder than it needed to be. The next week was torture. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every time the doorbell rang, I jolted, hoping it was him. But it wasn't. He didn't text, didn't call, didn't even so much as leave a note. And the silence screamed louder than anything he'd ever said. On Friday, I decided to go by the firm, to bring my dad some papers he forgot, just to see if Julian was there. And there he was, in the glass conference room, crisp white shirt, tie loose, laughing with a client like nothing was wrong in the world. But when he saw me through the glass, he froze, just for a second, then turned away, didn't come out to greet me, didn't send a text after, just vanished again. I started to hate him. I really did, for being the adult, for being the one who should have drawn the line, for making me feel like I was a mistake. But hate is tricky. It wraps itself around the same place love lives, and I couldn't untangle them. That night, I did something stupid. I posted a photo on my story, me in bed, hair a mess, shirt off, captioned, "Some people only knock once. Some people break the door down. Guess which one I wanted." I didn't tag him. Didn't need to. Within 5 minutes, he viewed it, and then he texted, "Julian, don't do that." Me, "Why not?" Julian, "Because it's not a game." Me, "Then stop treating me like a child." Julian, "You don't know what you're asking for." Me, "I'm not asking anymore." The doorbell rang 10 minutes later. It was nearly midnight. I opened it. He was standing there, no coat, no folder, just him. Wet hair, eyes tired, like he hadn't slept either. We didn't speak. He stepped in. I closed the door. We stared at each other. And then he kissed me again. But this time, it was slow. It was heavy. It was everything the first kiss wasn't. Less fire, more truth. Afterward, we sat on my bed, side by side, like two people who had already made the worst and best mistake of their lives. "I'm not built for this," he said. "I don't want forever," I whispered. "I just want real." He looked at me, long and quiet. "If your dad ever finds out, I know he'll destroy both of us." I nodded. "I'm already destroyed." He stayed that night, didn't touch me again, just stayed, and I fell asleep listening to the rhythm of his breath. Like maybe the worst decision of my life might be the first thing that ever felt true, but it wouldn't last, because secrets always find the light, and mine was about to burn. Part 3, Secrets Don't Sleep. The next morning felt unreal, the way sunlight slipped between the blinds, the smell of coffee I didn't make, the sound of him in the kitchen. Julian was still here, and for a second, I let myself believe it was normal, like this was just the start of something good, something allowed, something ours. I padded barefoot down the hallway, heart already sprinting. He was at the stove, flipping eggs like it was his house. No tie, just a plain black t-shirt, messy hair, barefoot too, and smiling, like he belonged. "I figured you wouldn't mind," he said, holding up a spatula. "I don't." We ate in silence, but it wasn't awkward. It was the kind of quiet that felt earned, like we didn't need to fill it with anything, like just being there was enough, until he put his fork down. "Noah, I need you to understand something." I waited, already bracing. Last night, it wasn't promise. It was a moment, a real one, but I don't know what comes after. I swallowed. I'm not asking for after. I'm asking for now. Now is dangerous. So is breathing. He sighed, ran a hand through his hair. "Your father is my partner. My career depends on this. Do you care about me?" That stopped him. "Yes," he said finally. then stay. And he did, but only for one more hour. When he left, he didn't say goodbye. He just looked back once on the front door, like he was memorizing it, or maybe mourning it. I didn't know which. And I didn't know why that scared me more than anything. Later that afternoon, my dad barged into the living room, suit still crisp, phone in one hand, anger in the other. Did Julian come by this morning? My heart stopped. My mouth dried. No, I said too quickly. He narrowed his eyes. Because someone saw his car parked outside early. You know anything about that? I shook my head. He probably just left a file or something. You know how he is. Dad exhaled, not in relief, in suspicion. I'm going to call him. Something feels off lately. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept waiting for a call. A knock. A blow-up. But it never came. Just silence. And guilt. So much guilt. The next day at school, I zoned out completely. My professor's words sounded like static. My notes were just scribbles. And I couldn't focus on anything except the sound of Julian's voice in my head. I don't know what comes after. Neither did I. But I was starting to understand something dangerous. I didn't want this to end, no matter the cost. That weekend, I went out with a few friends from campus. Bars, music, loud laughter I wasn't part of. I just wanted to stop thinking, to be normal, to forget how he tasted, to forget the way his shirt felt against my skin when he pulled me close. But halfway through my second drink, I saw him, across the bar, with someone else. A woman, blonde, tall, well-dressed, laughing, touching his arm. He leaned in, whispered something. She smiled, and I felt my stomach twist. He hadn't seen me. Or maybe he had, but didn't care. Either way, I left, didn't say goodbye to my friends, didn't finish my drink, just got in an Uber and stared out the window like the night could erase everything. The next morning, he texted, "Julian, did you go out last night?" I stared at it, didn't answer. 3 hours later, "Julian, I saw you. You left." Still no reply. Then, "Julian, I wasn't on a date." "Julian, she's a client, a friend." "Julian, please don't shut me out." I almost laughed. He was worried about being shut out? After everything he wasn't saying? After all the walls he'd built around me? I didn't reply, and he didn't push. For days. Until Wednesday, he showed up at the library, cornered me between bookshelves like we were kids playing hide and seek. "You're mad." "I'm fine." "You're not." "No, Julian, I'm not mad. I'm tired. Tired of this half-life. Of pretending you don't mean anything when you do. Of watching you disappear and reappear like I'm supposed to be grateful." He looked at me, for real, for long. "I miss you." My chest cracked. "You had me. You let go." "Because I was afraid." "So am I." "Then why are we fighting?" And just like that, I kissed him, right there, in the history aisle, between politics and poetry. And it didn't matter who saw, because at that moment, it wasn't a secret anymore. It was a choice. We walked out together, hands brushing, hearts racing. "Come to Austin with me," he said suddenly. I froze. "What?" "For the launch. Just a week. No pressure. Just come with me." I wanted to say yes. I wanted to scream it, but reality stepped in. My dad would kill me. He doesn't need to know. "You're asking me to lie to his face." "You already are." Silence. Then I said what I'd been afraid of all along. What happens if he finds out? Julian looked at me, and for the first time, he didn't have an answer. That night, I packed anyway. Not because it was smart, but because when something burns this bright, you either run into the fire or live forever in its shadow. Part 4. Austin was heaven. Until it wasn't. We left before sunrise. No goodbye. No note. Just a duffel bag and a shared silence in Julian's black BMW. The city blurred behind us as the sun cracked open the sky. And for a few hours, it felt like freedom. Julian didn't speak much during the drive. He played music, soft, instrumental, slow. I sat with my forehead against the glass, trying not to feel like a runaway, trying not to imagine my dad walking into my room, seeing the empty bed, and realizing who I left with. Austin was warmer than I expected, hotter than home, more alive. The building site they were launching was sleek, modern, glass everywhere. Julian checked us into a hotel just off South Congress. One room, one bed. He looked at me when the key card clicked. "You sure you're okay with this?" I nodded, but my hands were shaking, because this wasn't fantasy anymore. This was real, and real has consequences. The first night, we didn't even kiss. He ordered Thai takeout. We watched late-night news. I fell asleep on his chest. His hand never left my back. It was quiet, warm, safe, and terrifying, because I could feel it building. The tension, the guilt, the knowing that something was coming, and it wasn't going to be good. The next morning, I woke up to him in a towel, brushing his teeth. He looked like he belonged to a life I didn't have access to. Older, sharper, unreachable. "You snore," he joked. I threw a pillow at him, and for a second, we laughed like we'd done this forever. Julian brought me to a few meetings, introduced me as an intern, a student shadowing the project. Nobody questioned it. They just saw a clean-cut kid in a blazer and nodded, but I noticed the looks. From the receptionist, from the assistant, who watched us enter the same elevator every morning, from the way Julian's fingers brushed mine when no one was looking. It wasn't scandal yet, but it was becoming a whisper, and whispers travel faster than truth. That Thursday night, something changed. We'd gone out for drinks. Just us. He was looser than usual. 2 cocktails in, he started opening up. I never thought I'd be this person. What person? The one who risks everything for something that might not last. I sipped my drink. "That's heavy." "You're young. You don't get it yet." "Try me?" He looked at me, longer than he should have. "You could destroy my life, Noah." I swallowed. "Then why are you still here?" He didn't answer. He just took my hand under the table, and for the first time, he held it in public. No excuses, no flinching, and that small, reckless moment felt like the most dangerous thing we'd ever done. We made love that night. Not quick, not rushed, but with every unspoken word we hadn't dared say aloud. It was slow, careful, like we both knew the world was about to fall apart, and we wanted to remember this one piece before it did. He held my face when it was over, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "I wish this could be normal." I didn't reply, because normal was a universe we'd never live in. The next morning, I checked my phone. 6 missed calls, all from my dad, and 1 text. "Dad, you have 10 minutes to call me, or I'm calling the cops." My blood ran cold. Julian sat up instantly alert. "What's wrong?" I handed him the phone. He read the message, then stood up. He knows. I called him, heart in my throat. He picked up on the first ring. "Where the hell are you?" My dad barked. "In Austin." "With who?" I hesitated. Silence. Then I said it. "Julian." Dead silence. Then, "Get home. Now. Or don't bother coming back." Click. Julian sat down, put his head in his hands. "It's over." "No. He's going to ruin both of us." "Let him try. You don't understand. I've known your dad for over a decade. This isn't just some job to him. It's his legacy. You were part of that plan. And now we destroyed it." I stood. No, he destroyed it the moment he made his love conditional. We drove back that night. No music, no small talk, just miles of quiet. The calm before whatever storm was waiting at home. And in the silence, I realized something. I didn't regret what we did. I regretted that the world wasn't ready for it, that he wasn't ready for it, and that I might have to choose between love and blood. Part 5. Truth doesn't knock. It breaks down the door. We didn't even make it up the driveway before my dad came storming out the front door. His face was already red. His jaw clenched so tight it looked like it could snap, and his eyes, they weren't confused. They weren't even angry. They were betrayed. Julian barely had time to put the car in park. "Out!" my dad shouted. "Out of the damn car. Now!" I opened my door slowly, hands trembling. Julian did the same, calm, but tight, like he'd already accepted whatever was about to happen. "You think I'm stupid?" Dad's voice cracked as he pointed at both of us. "You thought I wouldn't find out? My own son sneaking off with my business partner?" He turned to Julian. "You, of all people, you swore you respected me. You built a career with me. And now this." Julian didn't flinch. "It wasn't planned, Richard. Don't you dare say my name like we're friends right now." I stepped in between them. "Dad, please. Don't. You. Speak." His finger was in my face now, shaking. "You have no idea what you've done. You've humiliated me. My friends, our colleagues. Everyone's gonna talk. What did you think this was? A phase?" "It's not a phase," I said softly. "It's real. Real." He scoffed. "You don't know real. You're 22. You don't know what sacrifice means, what building something means." I know what it feels like to finally breathe. I snapped. "Silence. A long one. The kind that you don't recover from. Get in the house," he finally said to me. "We'll deal with you later." He turned to Julian. "You are done. We'll settle contracts through legal. Don't step foot near this house again." Julian's jaw tensed, but he nodded, didn't argue, didn't beg. He just looked at me one last time, and I swear, his eyes said everything he couldn't. "I'm sorry. Don't forget what we were." Then he got in his car and drove away. The door slammed behind me like a final sentence. I stood in the foyer, hands clenched, heart shredded. My dad paced the kitchen like a storm without wind. "Tell me everything," he demanded. "I don't owe you that. You owe me everything. I paid for your life, your school, your roof, your name. And what have you ever paid for emotionally?" I shot back, because it sure wasn't love. "Don't twist this. I'm not. You want the truth?" Julian made me feel seen. He didn't treat me like an investment. He didn't control me with expectations. He just got me. He manipulated you. "No, he saved me. He's twice your age." So what? Age doesn't define connection. It does when the other person is supposed to be your mentor, not your lover. We didn't speak for the rest of the night. He shut his office door. I went to my room and locked mine. And for the first time in my life, this house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like a cage. I didn't hear from Julian for a week. Not a call, not a text, not even a block number. I tried to keep busy. School, friends, noise. But everything sounded like silence when you're listening for one voice. One afternoon, I went to the coffee shop downtown, the one Julian used to take me when no one knew what we were. I sat in the corner booth, the same one we shared, and for 20 minutes, I just waited. No phone, no distractions, just hoping he didn't come. But when I got home, there was an envelope under my door. No name, just my name on the front, written in handwriting I knew too well. Inside, a letter, handwritten, neat, precise, painful. "Noah, if you're reading this, then I failed you twice. Once by not saying goodbye, twice by staying silent. There are things I wanted to say, but couldn't. Not in front of your father. Not when I knew it would only make things worse. But I need you to hear this. You weren't a mistake. What we shared, it wasn't a moment of weakness. It was the most honest thing I felt in years. But I couldn't protect both you and myself at the same time. And so I chose the only thing I knew how to choose: distance. Not because I wanted to leave, but because I couldn't stand to hurt you more than I already have. If there's a world where we find our way back to each other, I'll be waiting. Until then, live, love, and don't hide. Not for anyone. Jay." I read it 3 times. Then I cried. For him. For me. For everything we had and everything we couldn't keep. I didn't respond. Not then. Not because I didn't want to, but because I needed time to figure out who I was without him, to decide if I loved him or just loved the way he made me feel. A week passed, then another, and just when I started to believe I'd move on, I ran into him. Random, unplanned, a bookstore. He was standing by the travel section, flipping through a book on Italy. He looked up, saw me, and everything around us slowed, like life paused to ask, are you going to do this or not? Part 6. We found each other again, but so did someone else. I thought I imagined him at first, there by the travel books, his head tilted, a crease between his brows. Julian, alive in here, not in memory, not in dreams, but standing 3 feet from me, flipping through Italy, a love story. I froze. Part of me wanted to run. Part of me couldn't move. And part of me, the part still aching, just whispered, Julian. He turned, and in one slow blink, the world rewound. Noah, he said, voice of breath. Not surprised, not shocked, but soft, as if he'd been waiting. You look good, he added, almost shy. So do you. And I meant it. He looked lighter. Tired, but lighter. Less like a man drowning in guilt, more like someone who learned how to float. We sat on a bench outside the store, coffee between us, distance maintained. But the tension? Still alive, still real. I didn't know if I'd ever see you again. I admitted. I didn't plan this, he said. I still live on the other side of town. I was just trying to forget. Did it work? He smiled sadly. Not even close. We didn't talk about my dad, or the fallout, or the silence between us. We talked about nothing. And everything. Books, work, new routines. I told him I started therapy. He told me he started painting. It was like learning each other all over again, but with bruises we weren't hiding anymore. After an hour, he stood. Walk with me? I nodded. We wandered into a quiet side street. Familiar but empty. Sunset turning glass to gold around us. And then he reached for my hand. Not accidentally, not carefully, deliberately. And I let him, fingers locking, like we were picking up where we left off, without asking permission. That night, we ended up back at his place. A modest condo. Simple, quiet. He poured wine, lit a candle, and for the first time, it wasn't secret. It was safe, or so I thought. The next morning, I woke up tangled in his sheets, the sun pouring in like it knew. He was still asleep, peaceful, his hand draped across my chest, like he didn't want to let go, even in dreams. I got up quietly, grabbed my hoodie, and stepped onto the balcony, just for air. But when I looked down at the street, my stomach dropped. A black car, parked across the road, windows tinted, engine running. Still, it didn't move, didn't honk, didn't roll down the window. It just sat there, watching. I stepped back inside quickly, heart hammering. Julian stirred. You okay? There's a car outside, I said. I think someone's watching. He sat up instantly, eyes narrowing. Describe it. I did. Black sedan, no front plate, parked 2 perfectly. He didn't panic. He just looked tired. Richard, he said, my father. I thought you said you hadn't spoken to him. I haven't, Julian replied. But that doesn't mean he's let this go. My hands curled into fists. This is insane. He's careful, Noah, calculated. If he's watching, it's not because he wants a reunion. It's because he's planning something. My throat went dry. He'd really go that far? Julian didn't answer. He didn't have to. The silence spoke loud enough. We stayed inside for hours. Curtains drawn. Phone silent. He offered to call someone, a lawyer he knew. I said no, because part of me still believed my dad wouldn't do this. That he was angry, hurt, betrayed, but not dangerous, right? That afternoon, the car was gone. Vanished. No tire marks. No trace. Just like it had never been there. But the damage was already done. Julian didn't touch his coffee. I barely ate. The air between us was different now. Thicker, fearful, like we weren't just hiding love, but hiding ourselves. The next few days blurred. We stayed low, texted sparingly, met in neutral places, and every time we kissed, it felt like both a risk and a rebellion. But one night, it happened again. I came home and found an envelope taped to my door. No name, just my name, like before. Inside, a single photo, printed on matte paper, grainy but clear, me and Julian, kissing, downtown, from behind a car, zoomed, focused, targeted, and scrawled in Sharpie underneath. You really thought this would stay hidden? No signature, no return address, no mercy. I stared at the photo for 20 full minutes. Then I called Julian. He answered immediately. It started, "What do we do?" "We make a decision." "What kind?" He hesitated. Then, "Whether we run or fight." I met him that night by the lake, the one outside town, our spot. He was already there, hood up, hands in his jacket pockets. I handed him the photo. He didn't flinch. "It's not just about your dad anymore," he said quietly. "Someone else knows, and they're watching." "Do you think he hired someone?" "Maybe. Or maybe he's just trying to break us before we even start." "Either way," Julian said, "we can't keep doing this halfway. I can't be your secret forever. I don't want you to be." "Then say it." I looked at him, really looked. This man had risked everything. His job, his reputation, his sanity, for me, and I let fear keep him waiting. So I said it, out loud. "I love you, Julian." He didn't blink, didn't breathe. He just stepped forward and kissed me, like nothing else mattered, like the war was already worth it. But behind us, hidden in the dark, a camera shutter clicked, and a shadow slipped back into the trees. Because someone else wasn't done watching. And secrets don't stay secret for long. Part 7. Someone talked. The photo made it to the office first. Printed, folded once, slipped inside an anonymous envelope, dropped on the receptionist's desk. She opened it, stared, didn't say a word, just slid it quietly into the inbox labeled Richard Thomas, Private. Julian found out before I did. He called me at 7:43 a.m. "It's out." I didn't ask what it was. I already knew. My stomach dropped. "How bad?" "It landed on your dad's desk." I closed my eyes, felt the room tilt. "He hasn't called you yet?" "No, he will." He did. At 8:11 a.m. 6 words. "Get to my office. Now. Alone." I barely finished dressing. No breakfast. No thinking. Just dread. Raw and silent. When I walked in, the photo was already spread across his desk. His face was pale. Tight. He didn't even look up. "Sit." I sat. The silence was suffocating. "You know what this is?" I nodded. "You know who sent it?" I shook my head. He finally looked at me. Eyes narrowed. Dead calm. "Is it real?" And right then, I had a choice. Lie or live. I straightened my back. "Yes." "So you're sleeping with Julian," he said flatly. "I'm in love with him." He slammed his palm on the desk. "Don't you dare call this love. He's using you, manipulating you. This isn't love, it's leverage." I stayed silent, let him spiral. "Do you even realize what this means? To the board? To our clients? He's out. I'm terminating his partnership today." "No," I snapped. "You're punishing him for something we both chose." "He's 43. You're 22. So..." He knew better. Maybe I did too. Silence. Then, "Do you understand position this puts me in?" "Yes, and I don't care." His jaw twitched. "You just threw away everything for..." "What? A few nights in a hotel?" I stood. "I threw it away because you never asked what I wanted. You just assumed I'd inherit your empire and smile about it. You're still living under my roof. Not anymore. And I meant it. I didn't go back home. I went straight to Julian's place. He was waiting, already packing. It's done, I told him. He's terminating you. He nodded, didn't cry, didn't scream. Just packed, like it was always going to end this way. We should leave town, he said. Together. We got an Airbnb out near the coast. A small rental, 1 bedroom. No expectations. We laid low, watched old movies, cooked together, held hands without fear of blinds being open. It felt safe, but the world wasn't done with us. One night, Julian's phone buzzed. He checked it, froze. What? I asked. He turned the screen. Subject, lawsuit notification, breach of contract. My father was suing him, not just for breaking their partnership, but for inappropriate conduct with a family member. You're kidding, I said, stunned. Julian looked away. This is how it ends. No, I whispered. This isn't fair. It's not about fairness. It's about power. I grabbed my coat. Where are you going? To talk to him. I went straight to my dad's office. Didn't call, didn't text. Walked past the receptionist and straight to his door. He was there, sitting, reading. The photo now framed, like a trophy or a threat. You really did this? I asked, voice shaking. I warned you. You're ruining his life. He ruined mine. No, we did this. Together. So sue me too. I already have a plan for that. My jaw dropped. What? You think I'd let you off this easily? You think you can drag my name through the mud and walk away clean? He stood, towering, unrecognizable. You're no longer on my will, no longer tied to this company. From this moment on, you're on your own. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just nodded and walked out, for good. I returned to Julian. He knew, even before I opened my mouth. He pulled me into his arms, tight, like maybe if he held me hard enough, none of this would be real. But it was real, too real. We were broke, out of work, out of plans, and now officially disowned. But we were together, and maybe that was enough for now. That night, we sat on the beach, wrapped in a blanket, the ocean dark and endless in front of us. Do you regret it? I asked. He looked at me, eyes full of exhaustion and something deeper. I regret the cost. But not me. He kissed my temple. Never you. Then he hesitated. But there's something I haven't told you. I turned slowly. What? He swallowed. That night, when the first photo showed up, I traced the IP address from a message. I froze. And it wasn't your father. What? It was someone else. Someone close to both of us. I stared. Who? He looked away. You're not going to like the answer. Part 8. The betrayal came from inside. You're not going to like the answer. That's what Julian said, right before the world tipped off its axis. I sat still, too still, heart pounding against my ribs like it wanted to break free. Say it, I whispered. It was Ethan, he said. Ethan, my best friend since 7th grade. My ride or die. The guy who introduced me to Julian in the first place. I blinked. No way. Julian didn't flinch. He just handed me his phone. A screenshot. IP log, traced. Geolocation pinged. A sent folder from a dummy email address. The name connected to the burner? Ethan, Holtz 89. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. Because suddenly every conversation replayed like a warning I never noticed. You trust him that much? Are you sure he's not just bored, Noah? You do know he used to be closer to your dad, right? All the side comments, the teasing, the knowing looks. I thought it was protective concern, but it was jealousy, wearing friendship like a mask. Why would he do this? I asked finally. Julian rubbed his hands together, nervously. I don't think it's just about me. What then? I think he wanted you for himself. The words hit like ice water. No, Ethan had never. But then I remembered that night after Julian and I kissed for the first time. I told Ethan over text. He never replied. And the next day, he was cold, clipped, different. The signs were all there. I just never thought he'd be the reason my entire life fell apart. I drove straight to Ethan's place. Didn't call, didn't plan. I had fire in my chest and betrayal burning in my throat. He opened the door like he'd been expecting me. Worse, he smiled. Hey, man, you want to tell me why you ruined my life? I snapped. His face twitched. Barely. I don't know what you're talking about. Cut it. I stepped inside, threw the phone screenshot on his counter. He glanced at it, didn't even pretend to be surprised. Just sighed. You weren't supposed to see that. You knew what would happen. I shouted. You knew what my dad would do. Yeah, he said, voice low. I did. Then why? And that's when he finally broke. Because I loved you, Noah. The words landed like a slap. Sharp, unwelcome. Suddenly, everything made sense. And nothing did. You loved me? I whispered. I still do, he said. But you were so wrapped up in Julian. You never even looked at me. You could have told me. Would you have listened? He snapped. Would you have even noticed? We stood in the kitchen. Old friends, now strangers. Years of loyalty, torn in one jealous act. You destroyed me to get my attention, I said. Do you realize how twisted that is? I didn't think it would go this far, he said, voice cracking. I just wanted him gone. So you sent the photo to my dad. And the board. And the lawyers. Jesus, Ethan. I'm sorry. But he wasn't. Not really. Because deep down, he thought he was right. He thought I'd come back. That love could be forced through sabotage. But it can't. Love isn't control. It's choice. And I'd already made mine. I left without another word. And that night, I told Julian everything. He listened, quiet, nodding. I always had a weird feeling about him. He finally said, Me too, I admitted. I just never thought he'd go this far. Julian stepped closer, held me by the waist. You don't have to defend him. I'm not. I paused, but I think I need closure. So I wrote Ethan a letter. 1 page. No insults. No venom. Just the truth. That love isn't built on pain. And that I hope one day he'd find peace. But not in me. With Ethan gone and my dad silent, it was just me and Julian again. Starting over from nothing. No job. No family. No fallback plan. But we had time. And time, we learned, was sacred. We found a small studio apartment near the Arts District. Julian started painting commissions. I started freelancing remotely, design gigs and part-time editing. We didn't have much, but we had freedom. And freedom tastes better than comfort when it's earned. There were hard days, of course. Days when I missed my dad. When I wondered if Ethan ever felt regret. When I doubted myself. But every night, I'd turn over in bed and see Julian, and I'd know this was mine. My story. My choice. My life. 6 months later, I got a letter in the mail from my dad. Not handwritten. Typed. Cold. But real. I've watched from a distance. I see you're doing okay. Better than I expected. I won't pretend I understand your decisions. But you're my son. And that still matters, even when I don't like it. I don't forgive Julian, but I'll stop fighting him. And you, take care, Dad. I read it twice. Didn't cry, didn't smile, just exhaled. Because peace doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives quietly, unapologetically, late but welcome. Julian read it too. He kissed my hand after. Didn't say a word. He didn't have to. We were past words now. What we had was built brick by brick through fire and betrayal and something real. One night, while watching the sunset from our window, Julian asked me something. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we never cross that line? I thought about it, about that first night in his kitchen, that first look, the fear, the electricity. Then I smiled. I don't wonder. Why not? Because even if it ruined everything else, it gave me you. He smiled back, and I'm not going anywhere. And he hasn't. Not yet. Not once. Because love, real love, stays, even when everything else breaks.